This isn't a movie. It's a 3-hour military recruitment ad with explosions and aliens and lasers and a little racism sprinkled in for spice. I'm Seth, and today is day 19 of 365 reviewing every movie I've seen in theaters with the stubs to prove it. This one is Transformers. Welcome to Bayhem. Question of the day, what's your favorite theatrical Transformers movie? This one's directed by Michael Bay, stars Shia LaBeouf, Megan Fox, John Turturro, and the United States military in a role that they didn't even have to audition for. In 2007, this one hit me right in my teenage dopamine centers. Aliens, lasers, explosions, Megan Fox. As an adult, I'm blown away by the CGI and the way that they blended with the practical effects. They really went out of the way to make an action movie first and then added CGI to it. It blends surprisingly well still to this day. The script? Cringy, rough, little baked in sexism and racism. Really wants to remind you that this is post 9/11 Patriot Act America. Just enough military propaganda to make Top Gun blush. I think Bumblebee did this better, but I also admit no one out Pizzas the Hut and no one out Michaels the Bay. Where to start with Transformers 1? Since this movie, we have had a total of 7 movies in this canon, including a new animated one that's a prequel, including the old animated one that's also a prequel, and including the new live-action one that's also a prequel. This lore's fucking convoluted. My young review for this movie would have been absolutely pure elated joy. This was a kind of movie that felt risky, that felt like it was never going to get made. Like a whole action movie built on toys that I liked as a kid. You couldn't have convinced me that people would have spent money on it. But when you look at the money that this movie and the series has made, obviously there was a hole in the market for this. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing that it was filled. I'm not even saying it was a bad thing that it was filled by Michael Bay. Personally, I don't like any of the movies from 2 on, except for Bumblebee. I did really dig Bumblebee. I also pitched Bumblebee on the Film Rescue Show like a full 5 years before it came out. I said, a Transformers movie, like a boy and his dog story. People would really dig that. And then, of course, you get cinema gold in Haley Steinfeld, and suddenly that movie takes off. I'm not shocked. It's a great idea. Over the years, as I've talked about these movies on podcasts, I've always said I would defend the first movie, but none of them after that. I think I might be walking that back at this point. This recent rewatch, I was kind of taken back by how ugly so many parts of this movie are. The men riffing on each other and being inter-racist to each other within their squad. You have the more overt sexism against the female characters without even centering in on Megan Fox and ogling her as a 17-year-old. We also have an Australian data scientist, and she's relegated to being told she's wrong by men across the movie. It's not lost on me that Michael Bay wants to be part of the conversation, because if you recall in Transformers 4 or 5, he took a whole 5 minutes out of the movie to explain Juliet laws to us, so we'd know it wasn't weird of him to use a 17-year-old in the first movie. See, he wants to be in the discourse, but he wants to be a fucking pervy teenage guy as well. So when I take a step back and I look at the movies that will come after this and how much more overtly racist they're going to become, again, like I said at the top, this reminds me of exactly the era that it came out in. Even so much as John Turturro playing this like loose cannon, free range, Patriot Act secret agent guy that's going to continue across these movies. I don't know, maybe I just haven't been seeing the forest for the trees until now, and I've really soured on this movie. The craft holds up, and you will never see me complain about Zack Snyder or Michael Bay or any of these visual guys on the things that they're able to commit to screen. There are compilations of Transformers action beats that stand on their own because these sequences are so finely crafted. But your movie is only a roller coaster if it looks and feels good. The emotions come from the plot and the stories and the characters, and these movies always come up short. Shia LaBeouf does not have a character arc in this movie. It's 2.5 goddamn hours long, and this kid does not have an arc. He's just annoying and bumbling beginning to end. If I strip away the stuff that I used to like, just the way that these movies look, I'm not left with a lot after that, and that's really frustrating. It's really frustrating for me because I know that there's a strong strong fan base behind these movies that are invested in character work, because these are characters that don't emote a lot with their face. So somebody that really, really loves Starscream really fucking loves Starscream for real. I think it's a disservice to these movies that all they can get is action, military ad budgets, instead of actually fun, cool, creative storytelling that could come out of these kinds of movies. And they keep trying to worm their way over there. They want to inch their way over. Bumblebee was a big reset in that direction. I checked out Rise of the Beasts. I'm not too big of a man to admit that I want robot monkeys to beat up things on my screen. That sounds awesome. And I didn't even mind that movie as much. You can see them trying to wiggle their way over into the sci-fi futurism that these movies could hold. I don't know, I just feel like a full breakaway from the Michael Bay-ness would be helpful. Nobody out-Michaels the Bay, so try to do something else with it. When I think about these journeyman filmmakers, these guys that are invested in the craft, your James Camerons, your Michael Bays, I see people that really want to execute imagination onto the big screen, and that affects me in my heart. I really, really feel that. I know that there's legends of them tanking up the ILM computers to compile these images overnight so that they could have dailies for these Transformers movies. It was taking that much server space to export these files. Those kinds of stories I would never want to take away from the filmmakers, and the amount of filmmakers involved to make this kind of thing, to place it all on Michael Bay, is wrong. However, I also want to call attention to how much power a director has within their storytelling, and how much of this shit he's willing to talk about and claim openly as a filmmaker. I think there's a reason he hasn't gotten too far away from these movies, and what I think is his best movie since Transformers is Pain and Gain, is about men in arrested development. I think it might have been a little bit of a psyche work for him, if you know what I mean. And maybe that's why I end up liking Pain and Gain so much. Here's my little Pain and Gain aside. It's The Rock's best performance since Southland Tales. Anthony Mackie is absolutely fucking hilarious in that movie and underutilized, and Marky Mark is a goofball. This is a movie that takes its time to make fun of him, and I don't even think he knows he's the butt of the joke as often as he is. We've got that within Michael Bay as a filmmaker, but then he can't turn that lens onto this series for teenage boys. What are these boys going to do when they grow up? Again, if Shia LaBeouf's character has no arc, how are these boys supposed to grow by the next movie? The answer is they're not, and the answer is he doesn't in the next movie either. If they try to bring back these characters for some kind of Transformers, Avengers, Endgame type thing, like, why? Why? You haven't developed these characters. There's no arc for these people. I'm stoked for Captain America to show up in Endgame because I was there for the first Avenger. He's had 3 arcs across these movies until now. Not Shia fucking LaBeouf. And then let's also talk about the elephant in the room, actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf. Say what you will about his space in the cultural zeitgeist, he's known for doing a lot of really skeevy stuff. So a lot of this stuff just doesn't end up aging well for me. Megan Fox is truly the best thing to come out of this overall, because eventually she'll give us Jennifer's Body and make a bunch more cool off the beaten path movies after this. Yeah, I don't know, guys. Maybe I'm just ready for a different filmmaker to take over this series, and that'll get me back in the seats. I love the idea of practical and CGI as the main focus of an action series. I think that's shit that can work really, really well. But this is not a good series, and this is a series that was coming out alongside and adjacent to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so they had a bar to get over. And just think about what this almost could have been, because I don't know if y'all know this. Jon Favreau almost directed the Transformers movie. So think for yourself for a second, what would Michael Bay's Iron Man had looked like? Not saying he guaranteed would have got swapsies on the job, but that's just a fun hypothetical to think of. I know Jon Favreau's Transformers movie probably would have been closer to Bumblebee. Then maybe we're not off on this path ever to begin with. Sorry to be a letdown on this one, but Transformers 1 just doesn't really hold up anymore for me. And I still got 2 more of these fucking movies in the bag to watch. Oh my god, Transformers 2 is going to kill me, isn't it? If you'd like to see me slowly eventually die of watching the Transformers movies, give me a follow on this series. I'm going to be watching through all of these movies over the next year. You can check me out on Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. You can also check out my Patreon, where I'm actually giving away some of these ticket stubs to the people that sign up. In the meantime, I have the Bourne Ultimatum on for us tomorrow. Let's get our spy shit going with Matt Damon. I will see you tomorrow.